Everybody has to press that. Got it.
Yes, got it. All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. What a great way to start our week. I am really excited today to have our very first inspiring literacy through art and music, and to start off with a professional musician to give us an insight on how to inspire students is wonderful. I want to just give you a brief about the speaker. It is Steve Koven, who quite a few of us have met from the All That Jazz Festival that comes to Eleuthera yearly. Steve Koven is a composer, a performer, a producer, an educator, a filmmaker. As an educator, Steve's been teaching at Toronto's York University and Centennial College in Toronto, and he holds his master classes and clinics throughout Canada, China, Japan, Colombia, Barbados, Bahamas, US, and Mexico. Steve is also the education coordinator of the Eleuthera International Jazz Festival in Eleuthera and has presented a TEDx talk at Queen's University. So we are really excited because not only do we have this amazing, passionate, qualified musician, but all of us as educators know that teaching through the different senses really sometimes is that missing key with students. And there are so many students that go through the EEO program that seem to have given up motivation and given up hope. And music is quite often the way to get through to their hearts, which is the path to their mind. So during this workshop, he's going to be giving us all kinds of various tools and get us involved as well. But I, as an educator, am really interested in the ability to discriminate sounds, because as we also know, children with learning challenges have a very hard time with phonemic awareness skills. So this is just the beginning of a discussion that hopefully can be expanded, and we are really excited to have Steve join us today.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the session. See you later, you guys. That was great. No, you know what? I want to just say, first of all, thanks for everybody for joining us. And too bad we didn't have a larger crowd, but maybe we do this again. We can get more people out. And then I also want to thank Lang and Gabby and the EEO for asking me to do this, because this is a first for me to do a Zoom session with people I don't really know and that are all over far away from me. So thank you guys. And you're in my basement. This is my home, and this is where I do most of my work, my studio. And I even do teaching out of here. I've been teaching, as Lang says, at York University and Centennial for many years now, but the last year and a half or 2 years, due to COVID, it's all been online. And I've discovered that actually teaching online, I was skeptical at first, because I thought, how am I going to teach music to students through this platform without being next to them and showing them? And then what I discovered is that it's all about connecting through, doesn't matter the medium, whether you're in person or you're in a camera, it's this human connection that really allows us to teach and to learn even through this platform. And I was really surprised by the end of last year that I had really accomplished my goal as a teacher, working with my students to get them inspired, to get them learning. Those are the two big things that I do when I'm a teacher. It's inspiration is number one. And sometimes I don't even teach the material of the class. It's more about getting these students to feel self-confident and enjoy themselves. And so that's the key. I'm just gonna go to gallery view, put myself on gallery view so I can see everybody. But today we're here to talk about how music can help the process of learning how to read and language. And that's an interesting concept, because for me, music is the most powerful tool we have on this planet. It's something that allows us to connect with others. It allows us to form communities. It allows us to explore and express and discover things through sounds. So I thought, well, I think I can teach anything through music, life through music, because that's what it is. It's the one element of life that we have that's universal, and it's a mystery. We don't know where music comes from and how it affects everybody differently, and how, I do some work with people with dementia and memory loss. And music is a key because it's actually one of the last things to leave our minds. You can have somebody who can't even speak anymore or move because of their dementia or Alzheimer's, and all of a sudden they hear a song, and that song triggers an emotion, a memory. It's powerful, man. It's so all of a sudden they start to move and they start to engage in life again. And I see it firsthand every time that I'm working with these people that have this situation. And so I find it very exciting. But to teach somebody how to read a book or a story or a sentence um, using music, I think is a real fascinating study there, because um, I read somewhere that the phonological awareness, the sound awareness, is the understanding of different ways that oral language can be divided into smaller components and manipulated. That hit home for me because that's what I teach when I'm teaching improvisation of music. It's we all have ideas, and most people see an idea as just one way of looking at it, but an improviser, or looking at the phonological awareness, can be achieved by using sounds and using music to enhance the learning process, which is wicked. Just think about it, you guys. There's teachers. We've all had teachers in our lives. And I bet you on one hand, you can count the ones that really had an impact on you. I know I have. I've had maybe 5 or 6 that have mentored me throughout my life. I'm dating back to public school all the way up to my master's degree. And I think about it, what is it about these teachers that I gravitated towards and I learned from? And I think the thing is that they related the subject matter to something bigger than just the text and just the academic way of learning, which I find personally boring, non-stimulating, and for me, I don't learn that way. So I discovered through teaching young children and teaching at the university that everybody learns differently, but one thing that I think shares a common thread is the idea of creative learning, is being taught in a creative process to accomplish the goal. Anybody can pick up a text and read a text, and the students can follow. That's not learning. That's to me, that is kind of just like imitating and regurgitating. But when you throw a creative aspect to learning, to the process of learning, then it goes far deeper than just the surface of learning. They start to understand, well, there's different ways to approach something and to understand. And through music, it's just not the method of using music that helps them understand, but it's the fun and creative aspect that I think that really grabs a student and makes them appreciate the idea of what they're learning or relate to it even more. Hi, Kathy. Nice to see everybody. So, as an introduction, I just want to tell you that when I was in public school, I spent many years going to psychologists because I couldn't read. I couldn't even read music, to tell you the truth. Reading to me was like going to the dentist and having my teeth pulled. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. Even to today, I don't really read. I don't sit down and grab a book and read it and cuddle up on the couch and do that. It's not my cup of tea. My cup of tea is to actually sit at the music and to create. But having that experience as a young boy, and I know the impact of having the challenges on reading, it impacted me in the sense that my self-confidence was gone. I was removed back in the 70s in a program called the CORE program, where they would take these students that had learning difficulties out of the mainstream classroom, and they'd put them in a portable, and instead of having 40 people in a class, you'd have 7 or 10. And you had one teacher that taught all the courses instead of going from class to class and working with different teachers. that in itself, that isolation was really hard on, I think, my psychology, my psychological aspect of learning, because I felt like I was removed from the mainstream and I was different and I was dumb. But on the contrary, I wasn't. On the contrary, I was probably smarter than most of those people in the mainstream because I started to understand the idea of learning something through different ways instead of just the traditional approach, which I consider just textbook regurgitation. And so music is one of those tools that can actually take us away from that approach and add another element into the learning process, whether you're learning to read or you're learning math or you're learning to move your body or you're learning to communicate with others. Music is a really great tool because, like I said, it's the universal language that we all connect with for some reason. I want to unmute everybody. Let's unmute everybody.
Okay, I'm unmuted. You guys have to unmute yourself. It's
Everybody unmute themselves.
Good morning, everyone. I'm
Good morning.
Crystal.
Good morning.
Morning.
You
Hi,
guys
Crystal.
can put on your video.
Morning, everybody.
I turned off my video because my connection is horrible.
Okay. Well, I just want to
Yeah,
go
I don't
around the
either.
room.
I don't
Okay.
have video either.
It's okay.
I want to go around the room and I want to just isolate everybody and ask a question. Kathy.
Hey, how
What-
you doing, Steve?
Good. How are you? Miss you.
I miss you too, man. I really do.
I'm coming back one day. Listen, Kathy, when I talked about music and the idea of using it to learn, to teach, do you agree with me on that aspect that there's two types of learning? There's this textbook learning or there's a creative way of learning?
You know me,
I don't
I'm
know you that
music.
well.
but I'm music. I'm total music.
You're
That's
total
my
music.
Actually, that's my background.
So do you have the same thing that I'm talking about where you understand that you can use that tool to teach many different things?
Oh yeah, I have, and I do.
Okay. Does anybody else here musical? Crystal, you're musical?
Yes.
You sing? Do you play the piano? What?
My grandmother was a music instructor. And so I've watched over the years, you know, her students come and go and just, you know, students that usually wouldn't do that well in school really did well in music. And once they understood, you know, the concept of scales and things like that, it became that intelligence that they had acquired or had honed in on. So I absolutely agree that music is one of the paramount, you know,
Yeah.
tools that you can use to teach anything. I think
Yeah.
a lot of times kids find it interesting to know how to use words when it is in a rhythm. So, um, and even, you know, the aspect of, you know, movement, kinetic movement, playing the drums or, you know, a lot of our students really grasp concept that we're trying to get across to them when music is involved or art or painting. But music for me is yeah, it's the one for me.
Yeah, I think any of the performing arts, music, visual arts, theater, any type of movement, dance. Yeah, mute yourself. Getting a lot of noise. Any of those are I think if you incorporate them into your teaching practice, what happens is that the teaching takes on it's actually more interesting for you as a teacher to figure out how to use tools like teaching or visual arts or movement or theater to get across the learning process to the students. Because no longer the students are like, oh, this is boring and why are we doing this? And all of a sudden they go, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is fun. We're laughing, but we're learning at the same time. They don't think they're learning at the same time. That's the thing. That's the secret. They are actually engaged into the creative process, and through the creative process, they are retaining ideas. And then the teacher can go back and address the ideas, even this time away from the music, and all of a sudden it sticks a lot quicker to whatever the concept they're teaching is. So yeah, I'm happy. If people aren't musical in this team we have right here, I disagree. Everybody's musical. Everybody can sing. Everybody can try to sing. And if you're not a good singer and you're trying to sing, your students will love it because they'll start laughing and they'll have a great time. But everybody can play clap. They can snap. They can move their body. Everybody can do that. And this is all music. And I think if you bring these elements into your teaching, it takes it to another plateau. It's another level of learning. All of a sudden, it's animated. Lang, when she reached out to me, Lang and Gabby, about doing this, about coming down. I was supposed to be in Bahamas right now, actually, to do this in person, which would have been great. But they both said that they know me from the jazz festival when I was working there. But they both said my energy, my passion, is something that is infectious, and I agree with them. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but it's something that is, I understand, which teaching is all about. There's nothing better than being around energy, good positive energy, and maybe a little craziness, maybe a little bit of fun, humor goes a long way as opposed to just instructing something academic based. And I think that's one thing I want to bring to the table right now. And I don't know how to teach that, but I think I'm going to put it out there that anybody who's teaching, I think it's an element that is really essential to connect with human beings, is those simple little ideas of humor, energy, passion. Bring your passion to the classroom. Bring your passion and your energy to the lesson plan, because that will go a long way.
Amen.
Amen. A long way, because I know the teachers, when I talked about the 5 teachers that I had, they all had that. There was one teacher specifically, Mrs. Myers, in grade 6, and she knew I had a hard time reading. She did a cool exercise. She'd always have in the corner of the room a record player set up with headphones. So on your break, you could go and listen to music. And I always didn't know why she did that. I thought she was just really cool, but I think she did it from a creative way of teaching, because this was my own time. I wasn't being instructed, but I'm listening to words. I'm listening to words, to rhythm, to emotions. And for me, it really connected, and it was a fun part. And then I remember we had this one assignment. We had to pick a poem or anything, and we had to memorize it, and we had to read it back to her. And I picked Money by Pink Floyd in grade 6. And there's this one line that says, don't give me any of your goody bullshit. And I swore at my teacher, and she loved it, because she says, you really memorized this. I remember this. So this was her way to get me into reading. It wasn't the traditional way of the book, but it was listening to words and memorizing and reciting back. And I thought that was a really creative approach. It's interesting too, because when my daughter was in grade 6, I told her about this teacher, Susan Myers. And I got on the phone the next day, and I called my public school, and I said, "Is Susan Myers still work there?" And they said, "Oh, no, she's gone, and but she's teaching somewhere else. But we can't give her your number. I mean, we can't give you her number. It's not illegal. But we can pass on the message to her that you've been trying to get a hold of her." And then about 2 weeks later, in the Globe and Mail, the Toronto paper, I saw that Susan Myers passed away of a brain tumor. And it was just so ironic, because this was one of the teachers that meant so much to me as a young student. And I was telling my daughter about it, and then 2 weeks later, I find out that she had just passed. So the timing was very strange. But let me talk about some ideas about exercises that I do. I think would work really well with music and learning to read. We talk about rhythm. And that is something that we've all done in the past, where you take a word, let's say Bahamas. And Bahamas, if you break it down into 3 syllables, you have Bahamas. So it's 3. Bahamas, 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 Bahamas. It's a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, Bahamas, Bahamas. So if I was to, explore all the words that had a triplet or a three feel in like a waltz, what other one is Canada, Canada, Canada? I wrote some down here. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. Yes, I did. Canada. There were so many. Three. What's one more? Let's see. Waltz, Canada, Bahamas, octopus. So there's a lot of three, and then there was 5-letter words I came up with: curiosity, personality, anniversary, anniversary.
5 syllables.
5 syllables. So if you have 5 syllables, as a musician, what I would be doing is I would play them Dave Brubeck, Take 5, which you've all probably recognized. That's in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Very famous song by Dave Brubeck. And actually, they recorded that song after they came back from India. The band went to India and they got exposed to these songs that are written in 5 and 7. And for those of you who aren't musicians, it doesn't matter, but the time signatures are 5 or 7. Very strange time signatures, as opposed to Western music, which is in 4, like rock and roll's in 4. A waltz is in 3, 1, 2, 3. A march is in 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So there's lots of music that is all about time. And if you can find certain songs that have certain time signatures, and that's easy to find out online, you can let the students hear these songs, and then you can get them to understand that this word, Bahamas, is 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, and they can play a song, and then we can actually play a song and sing Bahamas to it. Let's just see. I'm curious. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Bahamas, 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 Canada. You see where I'm going with that? And all of a sudden, not only do they understand that this word is broken into 3 syllables, but they can now relate it to a musical sound, a feel of 3, or take 5 of 5. And obviously, if I was to teach a word, I would have a written note always on the blackboard, or have it a handout, so they can actually physically see the word, and you can even divide the syllables up like we always do. But the idea of connecting the music to the word and the rhythm becomes animated now, because you can be creative with it. You can sing different words in 3 to a song that's going by. You can break the classroom into a choir setting where you can have one word over here and then another group singing another word, and you as the teacher can be the conductor and pointing to the group that's going to sing Bahamas, now Canada, now what's another 3-letter word, 3-syllable word? I don't know. I can't think right now. But you see what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, this learning experience of learning how to read a word, just one word even, it goes farther than just reading the word and explaining how it's broken up. Now you're relating a rhythmical aspect to it. You're relating a sound, a music style to it. You're actually now getting them to form a community and explore that word to music in groups and permutations. You can have them all saying it at the same time. So you'd be like Canada, Bahamas, all at one time. It would sound horrible, but it'd be fun. They would love that. You know what I mean? So it's a creative way of learning about syllables and how they're divided. I did have some words written down here. Two like like a whole note. That's a long tone. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's lots of them. There's a lot of single words like where are they? This is kind of early for me to teach in this morning, but anyways, anyways, like rock and roll, for example, is in 4, you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a lot of words that you can use that are 4-letter words. My notes aren't very clear. Dictionary, television, community, victory, Victoria, intelligence. They're all 4. You know what I mean? So 4 syllables. And you can make a whole list, and then you can get the students to come up with words that they know, and you can just say, show it a word. And then you can ask the other group, how many syllables is in that word? And then let's try playing a song to that word. So it just goes beyond just the idea of examining a word and cutting it up. You can now take it and you can even do this, you guys. You can have the words in 3 and you can add motions to it. You can teach your students how to conduct the word.
I was just thinking that music it instantly connects to movement, which
Instantly.
is a whole nother part of the brain, which for so many kids is that other missing link.
Yeah, when we at university, when we teach improvisation on piano, we just also talk about movement at the same time, and we get them thinking of movement and sound at the same time, because it like Lang says, it uses different parts of the brain. I'm no neuroscientist, but I know there's a right hemisphere and a left hemisphere, and I believe the left hemisphere is for more creative, intuitive, and the right is more cognitive, or vice versa. I don't know, but these are ways that to teach somebody a simple phrase or a word, and to throw in all these elements of movement and music and rhythm, it takes it to another level. I was going to say something about oh yeah, the conducting idea is really fun too for syllables, because you either have 3, which is 3 is very easy. It's a triangle. You start at the top, you go down, you build a triangle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You can do it with 2 hands. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Try it, Lang. 1, 2, 3. And do it nice and slow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And you actually create a bounce to it too, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Now you're a conductor. 2 is like this. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. 4, I'll just show you another one. 4, because you can do these with these kids and they can learn it and they can say the words while they're playing the music, and it becomes very interesting. 4 is like this. Down, to the right, to the left, back up where you started. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. So those are them. I do challenge Gabby to try 3 against 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's hard. Work on that for our next Zoom meeting. So again, it's learning simple words, written notes so they can visualize what the word looks like. You can even put in dividers for the syllables, but you have to go farther than that. You have to add in some type of musical element and movement element, and it'll be fun. Your kids will love it because they're getting their energy out. They're getting their yayas out. It ain't just sitting at a book and learning something like that. So that's one thing. The other thing too is you can clap the words. You know, Canada, Canada. And notice how I put a pause at the end of the word. Canada. Like a breath. Well, Canada's in 3, but if I put the breath, now it's in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. But if you keep it to the true 3 of the syllables, Canada, 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 Bahamas, right? So that's interesting, but you have to understand that music, like language, like reading, like words, they're the exact same. They consist of material and ideas that they share. For example, articulation. When I play music, I have to be articulate. When I read a sentence, I have to be articulate. There's punctuation in music. There's punctuation in words. There's flow in music. That's where the Canada, the flow comes into place. If you break the flow, it changes the pattern. Charlene, you want to unmute yourself?
Hi.
I haven't met you before.
No.
Now I have. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So Charlene, are you a teacher?
Yes, sir.
So do any of these things I'm talking about, do you already use, or are there things that I'm kind of embellishing on now that you haven't been exposed to?
I have been using music in my class. I love music. Basically, I use music for every I try to use music for every lesson. So it's similar to what I'm doing. Strategy similar to what I use in my classroom.
So let me ask you this, Charlene. Can you name musical elements? I named a few. Can you name music elements that relate to language?
Not really. I don't know them like that.
Me
Okay,
neither.
well,
What do you mean by that?
when you read, you have a lot of different things that goes into the reading to make it sound good. For example, you have articulation. I told you about that one. How to pronounce properly. You have punctuation. How to emphasize a certain part of the word or the meaning of the word. You have flow when you're reading a phrase. You have dynamics. Like when we're reading, it's not all like this because we would all sound like computers, but we put in expression. So music does the exact same thing. Also, when you read, you start to see patterns.
Rhyming.
Rhyming and repetition. You see a lot of the same words always appearing. Music, the same thing. These are elements of music that are universal. They're everything. They're in reading, and they're in body language. It's just, if you start to examine on the internet, what are the main elements that make up music? Like when Beethoven sat at the piano and he composed, was it just magic? No. He was aware of the language of music. He was aware of the different elements that comprise music. And the same ones apply to language, to, what do they call it? Literacy? Right?
Yes.
So,
Like, for instance,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go for
For
it.
instance, if there was a vocabulary word such as measure, we could use that word to explain how many beats in that measure within a song or within a musical context, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I mean, you could take any word that relates to music and explore the word and then show what it's like in the musical context. It's a great idea, comparing the two, bringing the two worlds together, because they're the exact same. The exact same. Music is a language. And just like English or Spanish or any other language, there's rules, there's certain elements that we have to understand to be able to read that language or to communicate using the language or to express ourselves using the language. And I think if you explore the musical elements, you will be able to relate that to the literacy elements. So there's a lot of information there. You know, for example, if you take Bahamas, the back to the 3, 1, 2, 3, and you start to throw in dynamics. Bahamas, 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 along with the movement. Or you start to throw in the articulation. Bahamas, 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 Bahamas. Staccato, short notes. Or crescendos. Bahamas, Bahamas. You can do, it's endless. The amount of permutations you can use with these elements to teach a language or to teach a word or reading, it's all connected. So I think that's a really cool thing. Rhythm is the most primitive and the most important way to start teaching anything. And the reason I said that is because in music, the most important element of all music is rhythm. It's not the notes. I'll prove that to you too. Because I can take a song, it has no melody, it has no key, but I'm going to work with rhythm. So again, even with words, even if you get a collection of words that don't really mean anything together, it doesn't matter. You can make your own words. You can make on your own sentence or idea up with random words. You can even cut out words, put them in a box, and get the students to pick a word, write it on the board, do the rhythm, do it with another word, and then another word, and chain a few of these words together, and then see if you can create a composition using the words. Do you know who did that? David Bowie. David Bowie would write a lot of his lyrics by randomly picking words that he was interested in and pulling them out and then reorganizing them. Very creative way of approaching lyric writing, but also could be applied to learning about words and how they sound and how they're connected. And they might have nothing to do with each other, but you can have this crazy, crazy sentence that you create through the process. I was thinking also like the blues. The blues is a really good approach to working with your kids in using the development of literacy, because the blues all tells stories. That's what the blues is. It tells the story of people, and it's not a complex system. They're usually simple, and the lyrics are usually very simple and pretty plain, but also very expressive and very meaningful. You can come up with a connection of words that you come up with in the classroom that you've written out, that you've maybe clapped out the rhythm, and not only just clapped out the rhythm, but maybe threw in the other elements of music, the pitch and the articulation and the dynamics. So now they're really exploring that word, but they've exhausted all the possibilities. They know the word by the end of the session and how to read it, and they see it, but more so, they've actually taken that word and done something creative with it. So the blues, you can write your own lyrics with the kids and write them out on the chalkboard and then get them to sing it together and follow the music and follow the words written out, and that could be really fun and crazy. Probably the first thing you'd want to do is come up with the chorus, but sometimes I like to take names. Kathy B. Kathy B is a bee. She flies high in the Christmas tree. Kathy B is a bee. You know what I'm saying? You can have fun with that. I mean, if I was teaching in a classroom, I would be getting these kids to come up and write their own lyrics, see what it looks like written out, explore the words individually, and examine how they are different syllables and the rhythm aspect of it, the meaning of it. But then you're taking it, you're putting into a song. They'll go home and, Mom, Dad, look at what I created today. I mean, that's creative learning. As opposed to sitting down, writing out the word on the chalkboard, opening up your books, getting them to write it out, and then saying, let's go to the next word. That's fine, but there's so much more we could do. We have to think of ourselves as improvisers when we're teachers. The difference is a classical music is black and white. You read it, you learn how to play it and interpret it, and you master it. That doesn't appeal to me. That's why I'm not a classical musician. Jazz and the blues, now there's a form of music that you learn, but then you can do anything you want with it. There are no parameters. You can be as expressive and creative as possible. And as a teacher, I think that's how I see it. I'm not teaching somebody a subject matter, but how many ways can I approach that and make it way more interesting and way more engaging and way more fun? Not just for the students, but for me. I'm the one who has to work it and be there, right? And if I can come up with these creative methods to get my idea across, then my job becomes way more interesting and way more satisfying. That's my opinion. Does anybody disagree with me on that? I'm curious. Anybody have any problems with that concept?
No, I think there's,
Absolutely not. I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired.
Who
I'm sorry.
said that?
I'm Crystal.
Where's Crystal? I'm looking. Oh, Crystal, I can't see your face, but I see Crystal
I'm
Awesome.
sorry. Yes. Here, I'll start my camera again.
Okay. Well, oh,
I'm
there
just
she
a little.
is.
Hi.
Hey, Crystal, where have you been all my life?
I'm here. I'm here. I've been around, but I'm here today, and I'm so inspired. It takes me back to my childhood with, you know, I didn't I stopped my camera because I'm a big crybaby. So I've been listening and being so inspired. And today, I'm just gonna, we're gonna focus on music today. And I have two groups that I'll work with this afternoon. I've already
Yeah.
set up their appointments, and what we were gonna do was some artsy stuff, but we're gonna do music today.
Well, here's
So thank you so much.
Oh, Crystal, God, you're such a sensitive soul. I love it. Me too. Let's all start crying. This is fabulous.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know what, Crystal? Though,
yeah.
if you're gonna do, if you were gonna do art today,
Mm-hmm.
do music and art, connect the two.
Both, huh?
Well, I'll tell you something. My master's thesis was music inspired by visual art.
Oh wow, yeah. So yeah.
You can do it. So here's a little thing you can work with them.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm
That's okay.
I'm listening. I'm just gonna
Check it
stop
out.
my video because I'm a blubbering mess right now.
No problem. So listen,
Okay.
again, you can relate this to literacy on whatever level you want. But as far as music
Okay.
and art, talk about the symphony to the kids. What is a symphony? And
Yeah.
do some discovering what symphony is. It has a form. Let's say it's three movements. You can talk to them. Then you get them to draw 3 contrasting pictures. Then you get them to compose or improvise using their mouth or whatever, their movement, what those pictures are. Now you've created a picture symphony.
Yeah.
And you can write out the word symphony. Symphony. There's your 3 right there. And so, I mean, see how it's just kind of organic. Everything flows into each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
My group today, I think my group today, I have a group of family members. There are just 3 of them. And I think music for them would be so instrumental for a lot of other issues that they're having. So I'm so, what I tend to focus on these individual students because they have outside distractions when it comes to their literacy. So if I can bring that element and introduce those concepts of things that they haven't ever thought about.
Exactly.
For me, I'm ready. I'm just like, I want to go rush out and get them now. It's like, I told you 1:00, but then I'm coming now.
Nice.
But I thank you so much. I'm so inspired.
Oh, this is great. Well, this is like I said at the beginning of my talk. One of the reasons I became a teacher, the only reason I became a teacher, I was the worst student on the planet. Like I said, for those of you who joined me late, I couldn't even read when I was a child. I had a lot of problems reading. I was removed from the classroom and put into another classroom, and it affected me really badly. I'm going to share something really personal with you guys. I'm of Jewish faith, and one of the high holidays in the Jewish faith is Passover. And Passover is where you sit around the table with your family and friends, and you read the story of Passover. And everybody gets to read a paragraph. I had acute anxiety my whole life at my own family gathering to read. And I remember it was at a girlfriend's house. I was 20 years old. at their Passover dinner, and it was my turn to read, and I tried, and a little boy beside me says, "He can't read." I know. I'm like, holy shit. Now we can cry, Crystal. That was hard on me. But
I can imagine.
the point I'm making is that everybody can do it if they're taught a certain way that relates to them. That's what I discovered through this. And I think music should be part of everyday instruction on some level. Even if you start off with meditation music, and get the kids to sit around in a circle. I do this, and you can have some quiet music playing. It's a way to ground. It's a way to focus. Has nothing to do with literacy, but it has everything to do with literacy because it gives you a chance to understand what being focused and being in the moment is. And a lot of times these students that have problems with literacy, it's because they have other things going on, like you said, Crystal, that they cannot focus on. And they get distracted, and then they might feel stupid because they can't keep up with the class. So I think our job as educators is to tap into these students that have these needs and figure out a creative way to bring it out. And music and movement is the biggest, and it's the easiest because it's magic. It's a healer. Music's a healer, ladies and gentlemen.
I absolutely agree with that.
It is. Everybody, I don't think anybody can disagree with it because it's in our own lives, music has healed us. It reminds you of your first kiss. It reminds you when you're sad and how you can listen to a song that makes you happy, or you can listen to a song that makes you sad and brings you back to that moment. So it's so powerful. That's why I think literacy or anything you're learning, music has to play some element in it to really emphasize that it's not just about the learning of literacy, but it's bigger than that. Self-confidence, enjoyment. If I was working with some kids and I really wanted them to learn how to read, I don't even think I would take a book that's there. I would get them to write their own stories. Come up with the stories either in a group or individually, and then examine what their story is, a short story. And you can examine it like we were talking about through rhythms and rhymes. I haven't talked about that, but and then all of a sudden they've created a sentence or a paragraph. They've put some music to it. They created it themselves. It wasn't I don't know. It wasn't a piece of literature that existed. They actually created that. So that element of them being in control and creating their own ideas, it's massive. Massive.
It makes it more relevant to them.
It makes us much more relevant. Yeah, they own it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, why am I learning this stuff? They own it. I don't know if I've been going on tangents or whatever, but have I been talking about what we need to talk about here?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely,
well,
yes.
You know what? We got 5 minutes left, and I have more to talk about, and we didn't even touch about rhyme, because I think that's really important, and other elements of like learning songs. I remember when I was in grade 6, when I was 64, the Beatles. That song, I don't really know, but we learned that as a class. And not only we learn it, but we had kazoos and we had to play it. Oh, I want to show you something. What is this? It's from Bahamas. What's it called?
Oh, we used to shaker. We call it shakers here.
Shakers.
It's from the Ponciana tree.
Ponciana tree.
I'm sitting under one right now.
When you're teaching literacy through rhythm and syllables, get your kids to pick some of these brushes, spend a classroom decorating them, making them their own instrument.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I did that.
You did it already? Great idea.
Yeah, I did that when I was teaching music.
It's a brilliant idea. I'll tell you a quick story. I was in Jamaica in the grill, and everybody on the beach that lives there and they're selling stuff, they all sell the same stuff. So I went up to this one guy and said, hey man, why don't you go and pick some of these and paint them the Jamaican color? The next 2 days I came back, he's selling them for $10 US each. He's making a fortune.
See,
When,
that all is involved in that. That's entrepreneurship right there.
Oh yeah, man. It's
when
creative.
when I made it with my class, they actually did paper mache. We paper mache them so that they could keep them a little longer.
Yeah, you can paper mache them, you can varnish them or shellac them. But anyways, that's a great tool for rhythm instead of clapping. Get them to build, or you got so much nature on that island. There's so many things you can create. You can actually have them to write their own story and then go find these nature instruments, and they have to be part of the story. That's where we get in the theater aspect of learning. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I think for the next 2 minutes, I'd just like to open it up. Anybody have any questions for me? We can unmute everybody and unmute yourselves if you have any questions. I would love to answer them.
Yes, I have a question. I'd like to know what the conductor motion would be for a one syllable word.
Well, let's say one syllable word. Give me an example of the word quickly.
I, the, it,
Okay,
and
I.
at.
So I would be either I, a quarter note, I, or it could be a whole note. I, 2, 3, 4. I, 2. Or it could be
So
3.
what would I do as a conductor? I saw the triangle.
You could do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I. Or you can do it just the whole note. I. So rhythm music can be broken into 1, halves, quarters, and eighths. I mean, that's probably as far as you want to go, or triplets. And
within a measure.
Within a measure. And so you can create. You can have one half the group doing I, and then another group doing another part of the group doing another word, and then conduct them both of them together and cross over. It could be really fun. And any other questions?
I just think there was so much potent information you shared. And if we had somebody who is a neuroscience scientist nowadays with education, all these different things that you've said that have to do with feelings and ideas and creativity, emotions, they all have scientific feedback, proof that it's valuable. These are all things that we in our heart know are valuable, but nowadays with education, this is what they're finding is truly important, because it connects the different parts of the brain. It creates new pathways, gets the children calm and their brain open up in a different way. So everything you're saying is really, really valuable, even in a scientific way for an educator. So you shared some gems today.
Thank you. Well, they say that learning an instrument makes you a child learn how to problem solve.
Yeah.
It helps with problem solving.
High level thinking.
And I believe, I don't know about scientifically, but it gives you self-confidence. Self-confidence is the biggest one for me.
But
if you have
the one thing about music is that it's universal. It affects everyone the same way, the same emotions, the same, it's more than learning. It's spiritual. It's everything. So to encompass the whole, this concept of having music as a learning tool, it opens more than we realize that we're doing. We might be learning a song, but then we might inspire someone to be a conductor one day. So it is a wonderful and beautiful thing. Thank you so much again.
Oh, listen. Well, I just want to thank Gabby and look who's joined me. I just want to hey.
Oh, my heart.
This is we just adopted Lucy, Dora, and Koven. I just want to thank Gabby.
Hi, Lucy.
Gabby and Lang and the EEO and all of you for having me. I'd come back anytime, and we can always have a discussion. I think for this type of platform where you really can't be hands-on, conversation and discussion and analyzing ideas and just sharing is really a great thing that we get a lot out of. But I say use music every day of your life, every day. Use it in some way, and when you're teaching, it'll make your teaching even more fun, and the kids will even dig you more. I guarantee you. How's that?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Lucy.
you.
Okay. Well, I hope to see everybody down on the island. I'm planning to come down eventually, and I'd like to live there for a while. I think,
Yeah, cool.
well, I'm telling you, I've been all over the Caribbean, and Luthra is the only place that I ever go now. It's magical. It's really untouched. There's so much wonderful culture on that island, and beautiful people and beautiful kids. And I saw that when I worked down there for the last 4 years in the on the jazz festival. It's magic, and you guys are
Yeah.
really blessed to have such an amazing place. And I hope everybody stays healthy, and I hope this COVID goes away so we can all hug and kiss each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm sending a hug right now.
Thank you all for making time to come today.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
you.
share some of the information that we went over today with other teachers as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm also going to say, if you want to get my email information from Lang and Gabby, you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me and we can connect that way. And if I can help you, I will. Okay.
Yeah, okay, I could put it in the
Yeah.
chat right now.
Nice.
Wonderful. How exciting. Thank you. You inspired me. I'm gonna go put on my record player with my students right now.
Nice. Okay.
I'm gonna write the Steve. Yeah,
Sorry?
Steve Allen Koven at
No,
Gmail.
no. Yeah, you can do that, or sktrio@interlog.com. I'll send it to you afterwards, okay?
Okay, we'll send it to everybody. Thank
Okay,
you.
you guys. Pleasure to meet you all, and I look forward to seeing everybody in person. I miss the island. I really do, and I want to come down there and teach, and I want to play, and I want to party.
You're welcome.
All right.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.